Okay, so you know that feeling you get like when you're putting in the work, you're trying to make things happen in your life,
Mm.
but you keep like hitting the same wall
Hmm.
over and over, whether it's career relationships or even just like how you feel about yourself. It's like there's this invisible ceiling,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, have you ever like wondered why some people just they seem to just glide through life,
Yeah.
you know? They achieve success, they find happiness, they have whatever it is they're going for.
Right.
But for others of us, it just feels like this constant uphill battle.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of why we feel stuck sometimes, despite our best intentions, you know.
Absolute.
And that invisible ceiling you talked about a lot of times, that's rooted in something we can't see, right? The
Right.
landscape of our own mind.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're diving into today. We're
Yeah.
taking a deep dive into the science and the power of reprogramming your subconscious mind. And honestly, like once you start to kind of understand this stuff, it can really change how you see your own potential.
It really can. It's about understanding the engine that's driving our everyday experience.
Hmm.
You know, think about the last time you reacted really strongly to something without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, that instant emotional response, that's your subconscious working. And a lot of times it's working from programming that was laid down years ago.
Right.
So understanding this is the first step to taking back control.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit.
Sure.
Our minds, they're not just this like single thing, right?
Yeah.
We've got like the conscious mind, the part that's, actively thinking, making decisions.
Yeah.
It's like the captain of the ship.
Yeah. That's your command center. That's your logic, your reasoning, what you're aware of in the moment.
Right.
But underneath that is something way bigger.
Yeah.
And way more influential. And that's the subconscious mind. I like to think of it as like a vast ocean
Okay.
compared to the little sailboat of your conscious mind. And it's this ocean that holds our deepest beliefs.
And this ocean, the subconscious, it's not just like passively sitting there, right?
No, not at all.
The stuff we've been looking at today makes it clear that it's really active in our day-to-day lives.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The figures we see are pretty amazing. It's estimated that the subconscious mind governs like 95%
Wow.
of our thoughts, emotions, habits, even our actions.
Real?
It's the powerhouse behind all our automatic responses, our ingrained patterns, even our long-term memory.
95%.
Yeah.
That's almost unbelievable when you actually stop and think about it.
Yeah.
So those knee-jerk reactions, the gut feelings,
Yeah.
the things we do without even thinking about it, that's all coming from this subconscious powerhouse.
That's exactly right. It operates mostly on autopilot, just running these programs. It's picked up over your life.
And these programs, where do they even come from?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the research we've been going through really points to those early years as being really formative.
Yeah, you're right. A huge chunk of our subconscious programming happens during childhood. You know, young minds are just incredibly impressionable.
Yeah.
They're soaking up beliefs and conditioning from parents, caregivers, teachers, the whole environment around us.
Right.
These early experiences, they lay the groundwork for our most basic subconscious beliefs about ourselves and about the world.
Like if you were a kid and you constantly heard things like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees,
Right.
or you always mess things up, those ideas can really stick with you and become these deep assumptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if later on, you consciously want something different.
That's right. Or think about a child who always gets the message that their opinions don't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe it's subtle, maybe it's more direct, but over time they might develop this subconscious belief that their voice isn't important,
Mm.
and that can show up as shyness or a reluctance to speak up as an adult.
It's almost like these early messages create a blueprint that we then unconsciously follow.
It's a good way to put it, yeah.
So if the blueprint is full of these limiting beliefs,
You know, things like, I'm not good enough relationships are always a struggle. Success is for other people.
yeah,
And that becomes the reality that we tend to create for ourselves,
right.
even when we're consciously trying to go for something better.
That's a really insightful way to frame it. These ingrained beliefs, they act like these powerful filters
Yeah.
that shape how we see the world,
Right.
the opportunities we notice or don't notice,
Right.
and ultimately the actions we take.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly influential subconscious mind
Yeah.
running largely on old programming, often from childhood, and that programming can hold us back.
Right.
But the big takeaway, the exciting part, is that it's not a life sentence, right?
Exactly.
We can actually rewrite some of this code.
We absolutely can. The subconscious mind is powerful, but it's adaptable.
Yeah.
And it can be retrained and reprogrammed with new, more empowering beliefs.
Okay.
And this is where consciously using techniques to influence the subconscious becomes so valuable.
So how do we actually do that? How do we get in there and start making changes? Well, there are a few key techniques that we can talk about.
Yeah, the sources we've been looking at today point to 5 key techniques.
Okay.
So let's start with affirmations.
All right.
I think most people have heard of affirmations,
Right.
but maybe not everyone knows how to use them effectively.
Yeah. Affirmations are basically positive statements that you choose to repeat to yourself.
Okay.
And the idea is that through repetition, these statements can get past your conscious mind
Okay.
and start to sink into your subconscious.
Right.
But the key here isn't just mindless repetition,
Right.
It's about regularity and conviction.
Okay.
It works best when you phrase them in the present tense,
Okay.
as if what you want is already true.
Got it.
So, for example, you would say, I am confident, not I will be confident.
Okay.
And it's super important to connect with the feeling of that affirmation, even if it feels a little weird at first.
So instead of just like saying, I am successful, under my breath,
Yeah.
I need to really feel what that success would be like.
Right.
Visualize it.
Exactly. The more emotion you can bring to the affirmation, the more easily your subconscious will accept it as true. And like the source material emphasizes, writing them down and saying them out loud, especially at the beginning of your day, can be really powerful. You're basically breaking those negative self-talk loops and replacing them with positive self-affirming messages.
So instead of that habitual thought ooh, I'm not good enough,
Right.
the affirmation would be something like, I am capable and worthy.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So technique number 2 is visualization.
Yes.
This one sounds incredibly powerful too. The idea that our brains can't really tell the difference between something we vividly imagine
Right.
and something that's actually happening.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
When you create this detailed mental picture of what you want,
Right.
whether it's a goal, a relationship, a feeling of inner peace, your subconscious starts to act as if that reality is already here. And that can influence your thoughts, your emotions, and eventually your actions in ways that match your visualized future. It's like a mental rehearsal for success.
So if I'm trying to get a promotion at work,
Yeah.
I wouldn't just picture myself in the new office.
Right.
I would try to feel that sense of accomplishment, the confidence I would have in the new role,
Exactly.
the positive interactions with my colleagues.
Yeah, engage all your senses in the visualization.
Oh.
What do you see? What do you hear? What can you feel? Even smell?
Wow.
The richer and more emotionally engaging your visualization is, the more powerful the message to your subconscious.
So even just taking a few minutes each day to do this
Yep,
can make a big difference over time.
absolutely.
All right, let's move on to technique number 3, hypnosis and guided meditation.
Okay,
This might sound a little out there to some people,
sure.
but the research we've looked at suggests that it can be a very direct way to access the subconscious.
Yeah, hypnosis and guided meditations, they work by getting you into a relaxed state of mind, often with slower brainwave activity, alpha or theta states. And in this more relaxed state, the critical filter of your conscious mind kind of steps back,
Okay.
and your subconscious becomes more open to suggestions.
Interesting.
Guided meditations often use positive affirmations and visualizations too, so it's a really effective two-pronged approach to reprogramming.
So it's not about losing control or being manipulated.
No.
It's more about quieting that inner chatter so that positive messages can get through to the subconscious more easily.
Exactly. Think of it as opening a direct line of communication to your subconscious. And there are tons of resources out there, recordings specifically designed for things like boosting self-esteem, cultivating abundance,
Right.
improving relationships. You can easily work these into routine, maybe listen before bed, when your brain is naturally in those more receptive states.
That sounds really accessible and not too intimidating.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, technique number 4 is repetitive exposure. This one feels kind of intuitively right to me. The idea that we learn by repetition.
It makes sense, right? Our subconscious mind learns and reinforces beliefs through consistent exposure.
Okay.
So if you want to adopt new beliefs, surround yourself with things that embody those beliefs,
Okay.
content environments, people you know,
Right.
you'll gradually start to overwrite the old programming.
So if I want to really believe that I'm capable and competent,
Yeah.
I would seek out books, podcasts, conversations, mentors who
Exactly.
really embody those qualities,
Yeah.
even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first.
Right. Immerse yourself in the evidence and the energy of the outcomes you desire. If you want to be more confident, watch inspiring talks,
Yeah.
practice self-affirming actions, spend time with confident people.
Right.
All of that contributes to this cumulative exposure.
Right.
And it subtly but powerfully reinforces that new belief in your subconscious.
And finally, technique number 5, gratitude and journaling. I know a lot of people talk about gratitude, but how does that specifically tie into reprogramming the subconscious?
Gratitude is so powerful for shifting your focus from what you feel is missing
Okay.
to appreciating what you already have.
Mm.
When you regularly focus on the good things in your life and express gratitude for them,
Yeah.
you're training your subconscious to be more tuned in to noticing and expecting more good things.
Interesting.
Journaling is a great way to go along with this.
Okay.
It gives you a dedicated space to consciously observe your thoughts,
Right.
identify negative patterns, and actively reframe them with a more positive perspective.
Okay.
And writing down what you're grateful for reinforces a mindset of abundance instead of scarcity.
Yeah.
And it does that at a subconscious level.
It's like you're actively training your brain to look for the good stuff.
Exactly.
And by doing that, you start to believe that good things are really happening.
Right.
And that they're possible for you.
Exactly. It's a subtle but remarkably effective way to rewire your subconscious, to anticipate positive outcomes, and to be more open to them when they show up.
So we've got these 5 really powerful techniques.
Yeah.
Affirmations, visualization, hypnosis, and guided meditation,
Mm-hmm.
repetitive exposure, and the practice of gratitude and journaling.
Right.
And it's clear from everything we've looked at that our subconscious mind is this incredibly influential force.
Absolutely.
And while it's been shaped by our past,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to dictate our future.
That's right.
We have the power to change it.
We do.
That's a big deal.
It is. It really is. The subconscious mind is constantly processing information and responding to the beliefs it holds.
Okay.
And those beliefs shape our reality.
Yeah.
Understanding this gives us a huge opportunity for growth and change.
And it's important to remember that this isn't an overnight transformation.
I know it's not.
The sources we've looked at emphasize that this is a process.
It is.
It takes consistency, patience, and a belief in your ability to change.
No, that's so important to remember. Just like it took time for those original beliefs to take root.
Yeah.
It takes time and effort to replace them with new empowering ones.
Right.
So be kind to yourself. Be patient. Acknowledge and celebrate even the small wins.
Okay.
And trust the process.
So for someone listening to this right now who's maybe feeling stuck or like they're on autopilot in a way that's not helpful,
Right.
what would be the most impactful first step they could take?
The most important thing is to just start.
Okay.
Choose one of these 5 techniques that speaks to you
Okay.
and commit to practicing it every day.
Okay.
You don't have to spend hours on it. Even 5 or 10 minutes of focused attention can make a big difference over time.
And how long should people realistically expect before they start to notice some changes in their thoughts and feelings?
Everyone's different, of course.
Like,
But lots of people report feeling some subtle shifts in their thinking and their emotions within about 21 days of consistent practice. Deeper, more lasting transformation often takes a few months as those new beliefs really become a part of your subconscious.
so the key message here is that we're not just products of our past programming.
Nope.
We can actually choose to cultivate the beliefs that will lead us to the life we want.
Exactly. Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because, the source material says you are capable of amazing things.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Take a moment right now. Think about one limiting belief that you're ready to let go of.
Yeah.
And how could using even just one of these techniques be the first step towards unlocking a whole new world of possibilities for yourself?
It's a great question to consider.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.